Okay, so we talked about the dominant, creative. We still have the normalizing and harmonizing left. Let's go to normalizing. ESTJs can express this way. How does an ESTJ express in a normalizing subtype?
All right, so this will be one of the other subtypes that sounds a little more stereotypically ESTJ. Although I do suspect that some of these ESTJs might mistype as ISTJs because there's a little bit more of an introverted sort of quality to them. So some of the characteristics are that they are particularly conscientious, they're detail-oriented, dutiful, objective, and strict. They work hard, they follow procedures, and they aim to set a good example. So these are like the conscientious, good citizen ESTJs. Because of how their brain wiring shows up, they think very sequentially. They like to connect a few dots at a time in order to make a bigger picture. They are focused in on accurate speech, mental planning, operating procedures, social rules, right? This is more of what we think of or a lot of people, not we, but a lot of people think of ESTJs as being a little bit more sort of dialed in this way. And then at the same time, they like to be a part of something larger than themselves. So they have a tendency to be attracted to institutions, to big organizations. They fill jobs that require a mixture of administrative and technical skills. So they are more likely to be an analyst than, say, the dominant ESTJ because they have the patience for it. They're a more patient ESTJ type. So they do really well in school. And they're usually interested in things like economics, finance, history, law enforcement. That was one of the things that ended up on your list that I was like, a creative subtype would hate that, but a normalizing would love it. They usually are versed in logistical and technical elements, and they might even be attracted to things like laboratories, right? Yeah. And to do experience in labs. And they really like knowing the ins and outs of supplies, tools, methods, whatever helps them get the job done in their area. And they have the patience for that. They're not just looking at things that are really efficient like an ESTJ would. This is more about craftsmanship the dominant ESTJ. So it's less about just being efficient like the dominant subtype. This is more about the craftsmanship of getting things done.
Yeah, and so playing nice with institutions, this is probably the ESTJ that's most likely able to be comfortable getting the 9-to-5 job, working there maybe for a few decades, or at least a period of time, building career capital, maybe at one or just a few companies, perfecting their resume, perfecting the skill set. Also, probably this ESTJ is tapped into institutional knowledge the most of all of the subtypes, I would argue. Like really understands like, okay, I've been here for 10 years. This is how this organization operates. This is the institutional way we do things, the standards and the procedures and all of that. They're probably going to be very attuned to that more than the others. It probably matters to them more.
Yeah. Yeah. They're more tuned into things like heritage. Yeah. And they're more likely to have a religious tone, right? Or philosophical tone. And the challenge is that they can come across a little bottled up, right? Unexpressive, but they are very responsible to their communities, and that means something to them.
Yeah. So if you find yourself leaning more toward this, you probably are either already in a career that lends itself this way, or maybe this is the career you want to be, leaning toward. Maybe you're in something that doesn't serve this well. I think the world is set up to accommodate normalizing subtypes a lot. There's a lot of opportunities for people that identify with normalizing flavors of subtype, and I would say ESTJ is perfectly in alignment with that. From a technical geek standpoint, this is going to be associated with the chemical of serotonin, neurotransmitter. And then let's talk about the function attunement for normalizing.
Right. So for the tech geeks, this is you take the perceiving function. It's the opposite of the creative subtype. The perceiving function is the function that has a more holistic bent. It's more receptive. And this is why it takes in information from the community. Like, how should I be seeing things? It's a little bit more diffused and open to information. But then the judging function, in this case, extroverted thinking, what we call effectiveness, that's going to have the analytic bent. So that's going to be the more make things happen. It's going to be sort of focused on how things should be running, and more loyal to that idea of setting things up and making it run the way it should be run.
Okay.